We're going to jump right into what's real and what's fake today. We have got a lot to get into. Hell, we got a lot to get into the entire week. It's going to be a busy week here on the channel. Now, for those of you that are new subscribers, we gained another 30 new subscribers over the weekend. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the support. But for those of you that are new to the channel, what we do here at the beginning of every week, we take headlines from over the weekend and we determine what's real, or what I agree with, and what's fake. An overreaction to something. In some cases, just outright stupidity, like the one I'm about to tell you about. First up, New Orleans Saints were outmatched against Kansas City. Fake. Got this from USA Today. And I could not believe the headline when I saw this article this morning. We must have been watching two completely different games. There are no moral victories in the NFL, but if there were, Sunday would have been a moral victory for the Saints. Let me tell you why. Sean Payton decided to put Michael Thomas on IR over the weekend, even though the Saints star receiver is actually healthy enough to play. Sean Payton didn't want to risk further injury to his ankle and have him out for the playoffs. So he's sitting him the remainder of the regular season. So Michael Thomas, out. Saints' best receiver, gone. Now, this also signaled to me that Sean Payton doesn't give a damn about the number one seed in the NFC. And seeing how well the defense played against Patrick Mahomes, I can kind of understand why. The defense gave Mahomes problems all day. Consistent pressure. I believe they sacked him 4 times. Hurried him 10, 11, 12. I don't remember what the number was, but they were in his face all day. They held Patrick Mahomes, the most explosive quarterback in the NFL, to minus 2 yards passing in the second quarter. New Orleans was playing with practice squad receivers. A quarterback that admitted he was not 100%. Hell, Drew Brees wasn't 50%. He missed open receivers the entire game, and he wasn't even close. Cam Jordan ejected in the third quarter on what I thought was an egregious decision by the officials. Now, did it deserve a penalty? Yeah, of course. But to eject the best defensive player on the field for being overly aggressive during the play, not after the play, during the play, is absolutely ridiculous. New Orleans, they lost Traquan Smith first minute of the third quarter. So you have a quarterback at less than 50%. Practice squad receivers he's throwing to. I can tell you damn near every player on the Saints roster, even I didn't know who the hell some of these receivers were that Drew Brees was throwing to. And then the Saints only lose by 3 points against the Super Bowl champs? The most explosive offense in the NFL? If Alex Anzalone knew how to fall on a ball in the end zone, the Saints possibly win that game. I think the opposite of what USA Today thinks. This game proved that the Saints are legit. This team is deep, far and away the best team in the NFC. Now, I rarely question Sean Payton, and I was as ready as anyone to see Drew Brees come back. I've had enough of Taysom Hill. But with Michael Thomas on IR and Sean Payton basically handing the number one seed over to the Packers, I question the decision to rush Drew Brees back for that Chiefs game on Sunday. I know Drew Brees was pushing the entire month to come back for this game against Kansas City, and I get the fact that he's earned the right to decide if he wants to play, if he's healthy enough to play. But sometimes you got to protect your player from himself. It was apparent in the first quarter that Drew Brees was clearly not ready to return. Offensively, New Orleans held the ball for 19 minutes. 19 minutes. Drew Brees, he couldn't hit a fat woman's mouth with a steak from 3 feet away. That's how bad he was Sunday. If you aren't pushing for the number one seed, this game against Kansas City was essentially meaningless. It didn't mean anything. The Saints only need one more win to clinch the division. So why rush Drew Brees back when he is clearly not ready? Just doesn't make sense. All week last week, all I heard was Drew Brees is 100%. He's ready to go, which was hard to believe even then. Rib injuries usually take 6 weeks to heal. Then in the first quarter, Pam Oliver reports that Drew Brees finally admitted that he wasn't 100%. Thanks for stating the obvious. We could all see that. I know the Saints have lost 2 straight, but I'm not worried about this team. I'm not worried about them. This is the best team we've had in New Orleans since the '09 Super Bowl team. And it's all about the defense. Tony Romo made an excellent point during the game on Sunday and pointed out why New Orleans is the best defensive team in the NFL. Because the front four is so dominant, the Saints can play with two deep safeties the entire game and still stop the run, still get pressure on the quarterback. It's the perfect defense to defend against a team like Kansas City. And they gave Patrick Mahomes problems the entire game until they gassed out in the fourth quarter. But damn, they had been on the field 75% of the game. The Saints need to focus on two things before the playoffs. Get everyone healthy and clean up the damn penalties. Because the defense is so aggressive, at times they become undisciplined. New Orleans is the most penalized defensive unit in the league. And most of the time, these penalties are coming on third down. When they get a stop, should be getting off the field, but they give the offense a first down instead. I don't think Sean Payton is worried about the possibility of playing the NFC Championship game at Lambeau Field. I don't. He knows his defense can stop Aaron Rodgers. He knows he can run the ball on Green Bay's defense. Clearly, Sean Payton is more concerned with getting his team healthy than he is about clinching home field advantage. All right, next up. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers still don't look quite ready for January. Real. I got this from CBS Sports. Now, I know Tampa won that game Sunday. I know Tom Brady led them on a big comeback after being down 17 points. But is that really an accomplishment? The damn Falcons have been giving up big leads all season. That game, to me, was indicative of what we have seen from the Bucs all season. Besides the 2 weeks against the Packers and the Raiders, Tampa Bay hasn't put together a full 4 quarters of football all season. This team is not ready for the playoffs. The Bucs are 2-4 against playoff teams. And 3 of those 4 losses came in convincing fashion. They were dominated twice by New Orleans. On paper, they only lost to Kansas City by 3 points. But they were blown out by the Chiefs. 17-0 into the first quarter. They were down 27-10 going into the fourth. Tampa Bay is the worst first quarter team in the NFL. The Bucs have scored 46 touchdowns this season. Only 8 have come in the first quarter. They haven't scored a touchdown in the first quarter since Halloween. That's damn near 2 months. 2 months without scoring a touchdown in the first quarter. You can't get off to slow starts like that against playoff teams, which is why they've been shellacked 3 times against elite opponents. You can go down 17-0 against Atlanta and come back. Hell, the Falcons, it seems like they enjoy giving up double-digit leads at home. It's one of their favorite hobbies. But you go down 17-0 against New Orleans, Seattle, Green Bay, in the playoffs? Game over. Game over. The question is, why does this continue to happen to Tampa Bay? Why do they get off to slow starts? Why do they continue to dig themselves into double-digit holes? In my opinion, it's a sign of poor coaching. First 15 plays of the game are scripted plays. And that's when Tampa is struggling the most. We are 15 weeks into the season, and it still looks to me that Tom Brady isn't comfortable in Bruce Arians' offense, or comfortable with Bruce Arians, period. At this point, you've got to question whether or not Bruce Arians is the right coach for Tom Brady. A few weeks ago, I believe it was CBS who put this together. They showed a graphic of NFL quarterbacks and Bruce Arians' system year 1. In every case, it was the worst season of their careers. I believe it was a young Peyton Manning, Jameis Winston. I can't remember the others. It might have been Carson Palmer in Arizona, maybe Big Ben in Pittsburgh. But there's a difference between all of those guys and Tom Brady. Besides Carson Palmer, all of those guys were young in their first season with Bruce Arians. Tom Brady is a 20-year veteran. He is set in his ways. This isn't a young quarterback that you're trying to mold. This is the GOAT, the greatest to ever play the position. There is too much talent in Tampa for the offense to struggle this bad for long stretches of games. Up, down, hot, cold. That falls on Bruce Arians. He is notoriously stubborn. But as the head coach, you've got to cater your offensive system to the personnel that you have on your roster, namely your legendary quarterback. This level of inconsistency isn't sustainable if you're talking about your goal is winning the Super Bowl. This is the level of play that we see from 8-8 teams, not a team with the greatest quarterback to ever play the game under center. Now let me get to Matt Ryan for just a second. I know the Falcons can't get out of his contract until 2022. But it is time for Atlanta to move on from Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is not a franchise quarterback. Next season, Matt Ryan will be playing for his third head coach. Franchise quarterbacks, they don't see their head coaches consistently getting fired. Just think about it. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Drew Brees, Sean Payton, Big Ben, Mike Tomlin, Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll. The Falcons keep firing head coaches thinking that they're the problem, when the problem is your $30 million a year franchise quarterback. Matt Ryan could also use a change of scenery too. I mean, it could revive his career. Matt Ryan and the Falcons, they have never gotten over that Super Bowl loss to New England where they gave up that 28-3 lead in the second half. Now that was 4 years ago. That was the 2016 season. Since then, Atlanta is 28-30 with one winning season and now 3 straight losing seasons. You have 2 1,000-yard receivers on this roster, and the offense still struggles for long stretches. At some point, it's not the head coach, it's not the defense, it's not the offensive line, it's not the running game. At some point, the quarterback has to shoulder the blame. It's time for Matt Ryan and the Falcons to part ways. All right, next up. Jon Gruden is the reason that the Raiders aren't going to make the playoffs. Real. Another one that I got from USA Today. I've never been a Gruden guy. I've never been a fan of Jon Gruden, the coach. I always felt that he was much better in the booth on Monday night than he is on the sidelines of an NFL field. The play calling by Jon Gruden in overtime Thursday night against the Chargers was atrocious. That was terrible. You have the Raiders fighting for their playoff lives, going up against a Chargers team with nothing to play for other than a paycheck. Marcus Mariota marches the Raiders offense all the way down the field in overtime. They get to the 4-yard line. They have 3 downs to get into the end zone. Now, Mariota had been thrashing the Chargers defense with his ability to break out of the pocket and run the ball. He had 88 yards rushing. So you've got 3 plays to get into the end zone and a mobile quarterback under center with the ability to spread the field. What does Jon Gruden do? Runs the ball up the middle twice, then calls a passing play on 3rd down that just breaks down. Raiders kick a field goal, end up losing the game. Now, after winning 6 of their first 9 games, the Raiders have lost 4 of their last 5. The lone win was against the Jets, a game in which they barely won that one. After this team misses the playoffs this season, it'll be the 3rd time a Jon Gruden team has started the season 6-3 and found a way to miss the playoffs. The truth is, Jon Gruden is overrated. He's not a great coach. Throughout the Patriots dynasty, it seemed like every September, people were talking about it being the end of an era in New England because the Patriots always started slow. They looked bad in September. Then they got better as the season progressed. It is the opposite with Jon Gruden. His team gets progressively worse as the season moves on. And it seems Jon Gruden never gets criticized by the media. If this were happening with Ron Rivera or Mike McCarthy, Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, the media would be crucifying him. But Jon Gruden gets a pass. But KC, he's a Super Bowl winner. Yeah, well, so is Barry Switzer. Know what Barry Switzer and Jon Gruden have in common? They won Super Bowls with someone else's team. Barry Switzer won a Super Bowl with the roster that Jimmy Johnson put together in Dallas. Jon Gruden won with Tony Dungy's roster in Tampa. It was a bad decision for the Raiders to give Jon Gruden a 10-year contract in the first place. But this is the Raiders that we're talking about, a franchise known for making bad decisions. Now, you are stuck with a mediocre coach who's going to get you to 8-8 every year. All right, last one for today. The Bears should re-sign Mitchell Trubisky. I hate to say real, but real. Let me tell you why. I've changed my stance here just a little bit. If you've been following me on this channel for a while, you know that I am no fan of Mitchell Trubisky. I think he's a bust. Chicago drafting him ahead of Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes will go down as one of the biggest blunders in the history of the NFL. Now, I'm not one of those that's all of a sudden falling in love with Mitchell Trubisky because he's played well the past 2, 3, 4 weeks. He was playing the last 2 weeks against the Vikings and the Texans, 2 of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. The real difference the last month or so in Chicago is David Montgomery and the running game. When the Bears started the season 3-0, they were running the ball effectively. Then they went 7 straight weeks without breaking 100 yards rushing. They were 2-5 over that stretch. Now, the past 4 weeks, they've recommitted to the running game, and the offense has put up over 30 points 3 of their last 4 games. Matt Nagy also made some adjustments with how he's handling Mitchell Trubisky. He's allowing him to make plays with his legs. And Trubisky seems to be playing with no pressure. And I'll be honest, it's working. He looks good. The reason I say that the Bears should re-sign him is because they don't have any other options. They're not going to be high enough in the draft to pick a quarterback that can step in and start day one. Nick Foles is going to be the only quarterback on this roster after this season. And he was trash this year and last year in Jacksonville. Turning back to Mitchell Trubisky is the only option that Matt Nagy has. Now, that being said, I feel like the Bears should only sign Trubisky to a short-term deal. I wouldn't give him $100 million guaranteed over 4 years or anything stupid like that. They should do something similar to what New England did with Cam Newton this year. Give Trubisky a short-term deal that's loaded with incentives. If he plays well next season, then you can think about locking him down long-term. We've seen this from Trubisky before. Look good 2, 3, 4 games in a row, then he falls right back down where he was. So, unless Chicago can get a big-name quarterback in free agency, which isn't likely, Mitchell Trubisky looks to be their only option going into next season. All right, that's all for today. Hit that like and subscribe button. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Going to be a busy week here on the channel. We've got the NBA starting up tomorrow. There's a lot going on in the NFL. Going to have a lot of content coming your way this week. Leave me a comment in the section below. Tell me where I'm wrong. Are the Saints not the best team in the NFC? Do you feel like Tampa Bay is a legitimate playoff contender? How do you guys feel about Jon Gruden? Great coach, or is he a bum? Let me know your thoughts. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Best way to contact me is by email at BTLKC84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys next time.